COSATU will this morning march to the Union buildings in Pretoria to hand over a memorandum to the Presidency. Now, the memorandum will demand that the scrapping of the controversial e-toll system. The move is in response to Finance Minister Tito Mboweni's medium-term budget policy statement, where he made it clear that he was against e-tolls being scrapped. Mboweni also urged motorists to pay their e-toll bills to ensure that the country had a road transport infrastructure that actually worked. Now, there have been widespread calls for the scrapping of the e-toll system. For more on what we can expect from this march, we cross live to our reporter Ofentse Setimo, who is there. Ofentse, just a very good morning to you. What's happening with regards to the marchers? Have they started gathering? Who's there?
Thank you very much. We're coming to you from Beggars Park in the sunny Pretoria, which is actually partly cloudy now. The assembly point for COSATU, ANC, and some of the civic organizations marched to the Union buildings to make their point that the tolls should be scrapped. But joining me now is Outer's Wayne Duvenage, who's actually been against e-tolls ever since its inception, to actually elaborate a bit further about the march. Thank you very much, Mr. Duvenage. What was your reaction when our finance minister actually endorsed the idea of e-tolls actually being paid?
We found it quite amusing in that this scheme has failed. It has failed ever since inception. The most it got to was 40% compliance in 2014. It is now down to 25% compliance or less than that. So when the minister says that this is a user-based scheme, we are amused at the fact that he claims it's an efficient one, because it isn't. It has lost the people. It is an irrational scheme. It's very expensive, and we say it's time to pull the plug. There's another very important statistic that the people now need to know. For the first years, the 4 years of tolling, up until March now in 2018, 1% of SANRAL's roads is supposed to achieve a 34% income for SANRAL. Fortunately, the public have stood strong and not paid those bills. They've had to write off 13 billion rand or more of that. And so this is clearly a scheme that needs to end now. It's not in the best interest of the country or the people.
And the argument is that probably the infrastructure might struggle if the culture of paying for tolls and all the others is actually, not abided by.
Yeah, look, we're not saying that we don't want to pay for infrastructure. Infrastructure doesn't come for free, but it comes through social infrastructure like this needs to be paid for, and that's why we pay taxes. These are roads we use daily to get to and from work. These are not long-distance routes to Komatipoort or to Durban or to Limpopo. These are the roads we use daily. And even in 2013, the Presidential Commission that reviewed state-owned entities said in recommendation number 21 that public infrastructure, social infrastructures, and including roads should not be subjected to user pays, but rather from national taxation. And by the way, that's an existing policy of government that is used to finance roads. Government gives money from Treasury to SANRAL to finance non-tolled routes. This should be a non-tolled route, 186 kilometers. It is crazy to try and subject this province to raise 34% of SANRAL's revenue. It's not going to happen.
And what are some of the flaws that you raised when the issue of tolling was actually raised in Gauteng? I remember the issue of consulting with stakeholders was also an issue that you raised.
Yes, well, very important that when this systems like this work around the world, it has to tick the boxes of public consultation. The public have to buy in. If you don't get the public support for something like this, it's always going to be difficult to chase those who are non-compliant. And even in Portugal, the scheme failed at 80% compliance. When 20% of people don't pay, it becomes too expensive to chase them. Well, we have 25% of people paying, so over 75% not paying makes it very, very difficult. And SANRAL have not been able to display how the scheme was ever going to be efficient. It also needs good public transport, integrated public transport. It needs to rely on good administration systems like eNatus, which is inaccurate. It needs a good postal service system. I don't have to tell you that the post office is grossly inefficient. So there are many factors that count against e-tolls as the way to finance this. Had they chosen the ring-fence fuel levy of 10 cents back in 2007, the reality is that as we stand here today, they would have already raised the capital and been able to pay off the capital amount of that 20 billion rand bond. So it's a they've lost a lot of time now. It's time to, it's never too late to pull the plug on a bad decision.
Thank you very much. That was Outer's Wayne Duvenage actually explaining to us that government actually failed to win the buy-in of most of the people of South Africa in terms of paying for tax. But I'm going to get now the ANC's Tshwane chair and former mayor of Tshwane, who's actually going to elaborate on their stance on what's happening with the e-toll. Thank you so much, Mr. Kosiensu. If you can just elaborate on your stance after the national government said endorsed the idea of e-tolls being paid.
Okay. No, thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers. Just to correct, the PC responsible for economic transformation. Well, I guess it doesn't make for good reading when you find a government, that is an ANC government on the one side, continue to advocate for e-tolls, and on the other side, then you find a structure of the movement saying that we should not be going that way. And it's part of the issues that we want to manage internally, the packaging of the message. But I think the thrust is that the ANC in Gauteng is of the opinion that we need to heighten the demand around the scrapping of the e-tolls. We are heightening it because we had made the call post our 2014 provincial conference. We reaffirmed it now in July to say that it undermines the growth, the economic growth of the province. It affects the poor disproportionately. It goes against the very thrust of the economic stimulus package. You remember that one of the key elements of the stimulus package is to ensure that you reduce the cost of business. What e-tolls does, it introduces inflationary pressures. It undermines the ability of small emerging entrepreneurs to participate in the mainstream economy because it increases the cost of doing business. And also the stimulus package seeks to address the issues of data. We know that studies have been done worldwide that demonstrate that the majority of the internet ecosystem has got an impact on GDP growth. So today we are calling for the president to address the issues around the cost of living, increases in VAT, regular increases in fuel hikes, and here we are targeting the levy component of the fuel prices, because others is a function of exogenous factors, the price of Brent crude oil, the strength of the rand. We are calling for the issues around the cost of data. We think that we should be expanding broadband to the township. It should not be a function of affordability, but it must be seen more as a basic service requirement for our people.
Thank you very much. There was a member of the Gauteng Executive Committee, the Provincial Executive Committee, actually explaining that the e-tolling is actually affecting the poor the most, and that government should actually address this matter. From us at Beggars Park is back to studio.
It's one of our top stories today. Ofentse Setimo coming to us live from the capital at the Anti-etolls March. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting. We'll catch up with you a little later on. Well, despite strong GDP growth over the first 10 years, Africa has failed to generate economic opportunities for its booming youth population. Now, this is according to the Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance. The index was launched in